Welcome to Subramani. There are certain beliefs that one has, and I have, and I will live by that, right? So, to me, wealth creation is done by investing in equities. So, when I was saying that in a class, saying that to make money in the to create wealth for yourself, you need to invest in equities. I was interrupted, and I was interrupted in the sense the organizers came and said there's an entrepreneur who wants to come and talk to you, wants to address his class, and since he's in a rush, can he come and talk for 10-15 minutes? So he came in and he said, I don't know what Subra has been telling you, but let me ask. So one of the person said, Subra was saying to invest, you have to make money, to create wealth, you have to invest in equities. So he very proudly said, I don't know, but I don't invest in equities. And he left. Whatever else he said was irrelevant, because here was a class, here was a successful man, or at least people believed that his net worth was more than me. It didn't matter whether it was. And he had said that he does not invest in equities. So I said, I knew him. So I said, so after he left, people said, look, he said he does not invest in equities. I said, yes, he does not invest in equities. Now let us see, how has he created wealth? Has he created wealth? These people did not have an idea. I had an idea. I said, he used to be employed some time back, and that time he got a salary, and now he is doing business. And let me tell you that he owns 67% or 70% of his company, and that is equity, right? So for an entrepreneur, not investing in equities doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make sense. When he says he does not invest in equity, don't believe him. He owns 67% of his company, and his wife was continuing to work in a software company, and she had ESOPs worth about 20 crores, and 20 crore ESOP is equity, right? So as a couple, their net worth is caused by her ESOP more than his business, and his business is 67% in equity. Should this person invest more in equity? Answer is no. He should not be investing in equity, because his life is equity, his wife's life is equity, so he should not be investing in equity. Similarly, whenever I walk into a class and I say you should be doing SIP for a long period of time, that's how you will make money, there will be some guy in the class who is very well educated who will say, what about Japan, right? So yeah, what about Japan? So I'm going to talk about Japan, because this is even though I spoke about asset allocation first, I'm going to talk about the Japanese bubble, which was the biggest bubble. And like I said, I'm quoting a lot from this book, Devil Takes the Hindmost, by Edward Chancellor. So look at some of the facts. 1956 to 1986, land prices increased 5,000%, even though the consumer prices must have just about doubled in that 30-year period. So inflation was not too high, but land prices went up 5,000%. The share price had increased 3x faster than corporate profits for Japanese corporations. Also understand, Japan is a very closed market. It is not easy for outsiders to go in and invest and create some kind of equilibrium in the market. It's a very difficult market in which to invest. It's not like American markets, or not even like Indian markets, where outside money can come very easily. I'm talking of 1986 Japan, and today Japan is a completely different country, but yes, those days you had that problem. 1990, the market, the real estate market in Japan was worth, I think, about 3-4 times the value of the US market, right? That's very difficult to believe, because US is such a huge country. Japan is what, half the size of Maharashtra, and US would be 2.5 times the size of India, right? So in terms of percentage, in terms of size, how can this happen? Well, I think the Japanese palace grounds was worth more than the Californian market, just the palace ground. Then there were clubs where obviously clubs had ground in which to play golf, and a membership in one of those clubs would cost I think $1 million, right? That's the kind of price you have to pay to get into one club. Hotels are still very expensive in Tokyo, because the real estate is at a premium, but it is nowhere near the 1989 boom, right? Yeah, there were in 1989 the PE ratio of the Nikkei was 60x, 60 times the trailing the PE was 60 times the 12-month earnings trailing, right? So over the next decade, the Japanese market lost 80%. So go back to the quotation which said at the South Sea bubble, at some stage this had to go, right? Every bubble is a balloon waiting for a needle to prick it, right? So that is what had to happen in Japan, and that's what happened. And Japan, why am I devoting one full session to Japan? Japan is the biggest bubble that ever got built, simply not just in terms of size. In terms of size, of course it was big, it was some $32 billion if I'm not wrong, but more than that, the time it has taken to recover, right? 1989 was the boom, it has still not reached that price. So you're talking of 11 plus 23, 34 years, and it has still not recovered that price. It has still not touched those prices, right? So if you compare the Japanese market, what happened from 1986 to 1989, and 1989 the bubble burst. From that, which means a whole generation in Japan thought markets can only go up, and those people who have been investing in the market since 1989 have just not made money, right? Maybe on an SIP basis some kind of a return they may have got, and Japanese market, the deposit bank rates are very low, so maybe some people invested, maybe some institutional investors invested, but otherwise as retail investors you didn't make money, right? So these peak valuations are less than the peak value, half the peak valuations in Japan, right? What it was, even in the .com boom, the PE and all those were at perhaps half the rate at which Japan was. So it was really so bad that again I'm quoting from the book, 1970 to 1989 Japanese large cap gave 22.43% return. And 1990 to 2015, right, till 2015 it was minus 0.39, and small caps had given 29% return when the large cap was 22, the small caps was 29, right, and and after from 1990 to 2015 it has given 1.5%. 1.5% is still much better than minus 0.40 with the large cap has given. So which means again here I am quoting the book, $100,000 invested in the Japanese large cap in 1970 would have turned to 5.7 million in 1989. In Japanese small cap, 100,000 would have turned to 18 million, right? So it is about 3 times more in small cap. But from 1990 to 2015, 100,000 would have become 90,000 in large cap and 149,000. Even now the small cap has done better than the large cap. But look at the kind of gap that we are talking about. You can also, I mean, for a person who is invested only in Japan, it would have been quite ruinous. So what are the wrong learnings that we have? This again I am quoting Ben Carlson, and he says the lesson which people think they learned is buy and hold doesn't work. See, if you had bought and held from 1989 till today, you would have only lost money. So buy and hold doesn't work, and this thing could happen in the US, this thing could happen in India, right? So India, why can't this happen in Japan? What happened in Japan, why can't it happen in US? Why can't it happen in India? So my take is something very simple, that buy and hold doesn't work may be true, but largely most of us are SIP buyers, right? We buy on a continuous basis. So I may have liked Titan at 10 rupees, I may have liked Titan at 100 rupees, I may have liked Titan at 800 rupees, and I may have liked Titan at 2000 rupees. Or Titan may be a wrong example. You take any other, you take Tata Power or BHEL 30, 70, let's just stick to Tata Power. So 30, 70, 90 are all my buying prices, and today the price is 270, right? So you will keep buying at various prices, and you will also sell at various prices. So that is bound to happen. So that is how you have to look at it. Secondly, also that at the end of the market, when some market cap like that, for example, if the market cap of HDFC Bank is more than the market cap of say Tata Group or the whole pharma industry or something like that, you have to understand that yes, there is something wrong, and therefore you should stay out of the market during peak valuations, right? Like that book says, let devil take the hindmost. So for me, what are the learnings, or from Ben Carlson, what are the learnings? Market can go to any peak. At that peak, you have to let the devil take the hindmost. The last 10% of the return, if you've got 70% return, don't aim for 80. Be happy with 70. I'm happy with 30, 32, right? So I'm happy with that kind of a return. And also, whatever people say, especially whatever fund houses say, valuations do matter. So when a fund manager or a CIO or a CEO says markets are a little stretched, but it is not at the peak of its valuation. The peak valuation for pharma industry is 33 PE. Right now it is only 14 or something like that. It's your call to take. They have a NFO to sell. They are bound to say these things. It is your call as to whether valuations at that price you want to enter and whether you think you will make money. If you think you will make money, enter. But again, what happens in such cases when you're worried about valuation? Dramatically reduce the amount of money that you're committing. If you have a 20 lakh portfolio, don't put more than 2 lakhs into something like this, right? 10% is what you can risk, that much you risk. If possible, remove. That 2 lakhs becomes 3 lakhs, remove 1 lakh and increase your net worth by putting it somewhere well, something like a multi-asset fund, because then you're participating maybe in real estate, foreign equity, gold, whatever, right? Also, for me, I keep saying about my portfolio, it's very boring, reasonably good, some brilliant, but very rarely terrible, because by the time the terrible I realize it is terrible, I have got out of it very quickly. Like I've always given this example, GMR, I bought it I think 71. And I exited at 69 saying, oh God, this is terrible, because somebody told me, look, boss, chalana walana theek hai, but it's overpriced. I got out, then re-entered that at, hold your breath, at 9 rupees. Right? I said it can't go too wrong, and partially exited at 14 and partially still holding at 61. Now this is the GMR airport, or maybe 59, right? So sometimes you have to know that there is some mischief happening. That's nice to know if you know enough brokers, right? Also, another important thing is, don't invest all your money in one asset class. I've seen this happening in with people, especially with ESOP. And I've also seen it happening in with stories about people who had invested in Kashmir. The only asset they had was a house. They kept on adding rooms to the house. So it was it started off as a 2 BHK. It became a 11 BHK. First cousin, second cousin, all were staying in the same house. It was great. And when they were thrown out by their own neighbors who tried to kill them to take over the property, they lost everything. So being excessively in Japanese real estate or Kashmir real estate or in equity, anything can be very hurtful. So diversification helps, and SIP helps, and taking some money off, taking some of the froth away, right? If you do not know how the beer was had flown into a glass, you will not know whether there is froth at the top or whether it is really beer. Thank you.